Uh, Ambassador James Swan, thank you very much for taking your time. And we have questions from our Facebook community that reach about 8,500 now. And we have questions for you, sir. And first question is from Muhammad Isaac Ali, who lives in Nairobi. He has a question that has three parts. First question is, what is the political objectives of the U.S. in Somalia? And the second question, he's asking about the federal government of Somalia, and he says, if the main objective of the Somali federal government is to eradicate al-Shabaab, disarm the public as well as the gain control of the country and to secure the country, why the Security Council is not lifting the embargo? And the last question for his three parts is, what was the reason for the West to marginalize Somali candidates for presidency? And that was Mr. Farmajo, who had the support of 90% of the Somali people. The people who wanted to vote for him were denied. Is that a democracy? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here today. The U.S. objectives in Somalia are very much to support the Somali people in what we believe to be their own objectives of improved security, democratic institutions, and economic growth for the benefit of the population. And to that end, we're working very closely both with the Somali leadership, with regional neighbors, the African Union, and the United Nations to advance those objectives. With respect to the arms embargo, recently there was a decision by the United Nations Security Council that the embargo on the Somali government, only the Somali government, should be suspended for a period of 1 year, subject to certain safeguards. The purpose of this is indeed to support legitimate efforts by Somali national institutions to rebuild the security forces and create an improved security sector for the benefit of the Somali population. Finally, with respect to any particular candidates last summer with the transition, of course we and all international partners were very pleased with the impressive progress made by the Somali people in completing the transition last September, ushering in an era of new leadership and supporting the establishment of those leaders in their new positions. But at no time were we or other international partners supporting a particular candidate, either for a particular individual or against a particular individual. We supported the process, and we were pleased that at the end of the day, that process produced new Somali leadership.
It's coming from Abdiwali Galaid, who is from Puntland area. And here's his question. He says he's a Somali citizen from the Puntland area. And he says Al-Shabaab poses a huge problem since they moved to the area. What plan and collaborations does the U.S. government have to support the Puntland government and the people of Puntland? Thank you.
Al-Shabaab is clearly a movement that has shown that it is out of touch with the Somali people. And we've seen in recent years a steady and I would argue accelerated erosion of support for Al-Shabaab. Why is that? Because Al-Shabaab represents a draconian vision of governance, and it represents a view of the future of Somalia that we believe is quite a dark vision in contrast to the genuine aspirations of the Somali people. And so I think what we're seeing with respect to Al-Shabaab is that the Somali population itself is turning increasingly against this movement. Certainly, support for AMISOM efforts, the Somali National Army as a key partner for AMISOM, have helped roll back Al-Shabaab militarily. And we've now seen Al-Shabaab lose control of most urban areas of the country and all but one port city. And that is already helping to undercut its access to finances and its ability to continue to sustain operations. But our work in Somalia, in cooperation with Somalis, both in the south, in Puntland, and elsewhere, is very much focused on creating a better narrative and an improved prospect for success of the Somali people to counter al-Shabaab. And it's that improved vision, it's that better view of the future of Somalia that ultimately is going to be the margin of victory against al-Shabaab.
Thank you, Ambassador. And we have a third question from Mikhail Jibril, who is from Banadr region in Mogadishu. And his question is, how can the U.S. work on two-track by supporting Somalia and working with Somaliland? And at the same time, he's asking, what is the real U.S. policy or standpoint towards Somaliland secession?
Well, the United States and many other international partners certainly have great respect for the efforts that have been made by the Somaliland people over a number of years in terms of maintaining a high degree of stability in the Somaliland territory, in terms of impressive gains on the governance front, including holding a number of elections that have been of a high standard. And certainly also respect efforts that have been made by that population to improve their economy and livelihoods. And the U.S. Certainly intends to continue its engagement with the Somaliland population and administration in terms of humanitarian response, in terms of reconstruction and development activities, and in terms of our shared governance agenda. At the same time, the United States position is fully consistent with the United Nations, the African Union, the neighboring countries of Somalia in terms of recognizing the national government in Mogadishu. And in January, President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud visited Washington, and there was a formal exchange of notes with then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton that reestablished formal U.S. recognition of Somalia for the first time since 1991. So our position is very much consistent with the African Union position, with the UN position in terms of recognition of a Somali national government. Yet we also want to continue our engagement and relationship with Somalilanders for the benefit of that population.
Thank you, Ambassador. And the last question is from Abdulrazak Ali Muhammad Omar, who is in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. And he says, my question is, why can't the U.S. pay the salaries of the Somali National Army, say for 4 years, the same way that the United States supports Pakistan and Egypt?
Clearly, having a paid and properly sustained national security force is absolutely essential to any government's ability to ensure security within its territory. We're all familiar with the challenges that the Somali administration has faced over many recent years in terms of asserting that security. So the United States, along with other partners, has been pleased to play a supporting role in assisting the government of Somalia in covering some of the expenses related to its national security forces. And we certainly look forward to continuing to do that, even while beginning to work yet more actively at transition of those forces to full support by the Somali government itself.
Ambassador James Swan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.